Hey guys, welcome to Saucin with Sharon. I'm Sharon and today we're going to be making my favorite granola recipe. It's nut-free and it's gluten-free and it is one of the best crunchy snacks of all time. So let's get right to it. So here are the ingredients that you're going to need. So you're going to need gluten-free oats. I use the Quaker oats, gluten-free quick oats. I have pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. They can be roasted or not roasted or salted or not salted. That's up to you. Also some dried cranberries or any kind of dried fruit that you like. Cinnamon, salt, some sunflower seed butter. Mine is already sweetened. A little bit of maple syrup, honey if you want. That kind of helps everything bind together. And then also vanilla extract for that little added flavor. So before we get started, make sure you preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Get a bowl, get a spoon, and let's get started. So first you're gonna add in 1 cup of oats. Then you can add in a 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds. And then you can add in a 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds. Now the seeds is really up to you. If you wanted to add nuts into this mix, you could do it now. It's important to add all the dry stuff together first. So now we have sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and some oats in here, a 1/4 cup of each of the seeds, and then a cup of oats. Now we're gonna add the salt and the cinnamon. So the salt is really up to you. I like that sweet and salty flavor in my granola, so I do go a bit more aggressively on the salt. But it's totally up to you. Got that pink salt. But now we can also add our cinnamon. That's totally up to you as well. This is a very like flavor preference part, so I just kind of sprinkle that in there. Definitely adds another element of flavor to it that I think is really nice to see in the granola. It really blends well with all the other flavors. Sorry for my subpar camera skills as well. I realized that you couldn't really see what was happening. But we will work on that. But now we're gonna just mix all the dry stuff together. So we have the oats, the seeds, the cinnamon, and the salt. Just kind of make sure everything's blended together before we add our wet ingredients, because then things will really start to bind together. And we wanna make sure that all the flavors, the salt and the cinnamon are evenly dispersed. All right, now it's time to add in the wet ingredients. So I add in some maple syrup. I get the 100% pure one. And I add in an 1/8 cup. Unfortunately, I don't have an 1/8 measure, so I kind of just guesstimate with the 1/4 cup and hope I don't pour too much. There we go. All right, that looks about right. I'm just gonna kind of plop that in there. Awesome. All right, now we're gonna be adding in a 1/4 cup or an 1/8 cup of the sunflower seed butter. All right, so I saved a new jar of sunflower seed butter. Just look at all that oil on top. Make sure you mix that in really, really good. So I tried this recipe a couple times with refrigerated sunflower seed butter and with it just at room temperature, and it doesn't seem to make a huge difference. But I guess we'll also find that out today. So this is not chilled. It is just like room temperature. But that also looks to be about an 1/8 cup. So you scrape it in there. Get that all in there. Totally eat the rest of whatever's left on your spoon. Super yummy. All right. And then now, kind of for that binding part, we're gonna be adding in a little drizzle of honey, like the smallest bit. And then a little bit of vanilla extract. And I mean like very, very small. It's just simply for like the flavor of it. Just a little, oh, that was a lot more than a little, but it's okay. It's just vanilla extract. And so now the fun part, we're gonna mix it all together. You see, we're just gonna kind of mix that all in there. We wanna make sure that everything is really well blended. So just kind of like smush it down if you need to. Yeah. Really get in there, get all those oats covered. We want every single piece of this granola mixture to be covered. The dry and the wet should all be incorporated together. Yeah, that makes for a really cohesive granola. It'll make sure that it can stick together really well, give you that crunchy, clustery feeling that you want. Just gonna mash it all together. Awesome. So when you feel that the mixture is all mixed together, so it should kind of look like this, you know, you can take a piece, try it out. The taste is perfect. And of course, at this point, you can kind of alter the taste. It's best not to add too much sunflower seed butter or maple syrup because that could make your granola less clustery and give it that like really wet texture. But yeah, so once you mix it in, now we can add the dried fruit in. I tried this with dried blueberries, dried raisins, whatever it may be. But I do like cranberries the most because I feel like it gives it that perfect little tangy, sweet texture. So I added about a 1/4 cup or however much you want, as you can see here. So I kind of just add that in there. I break them apart so it's not super clustered together. And so I kind of just add that in there. Sprinkle it in there. There we go. Awesome. So once they are all kind of just sprinkled in there, again, we're just gonna mix again. We wanna incorporate it. We want the dried cranberries to be evenly dispersed within the mix. Yeah. So we should take just a couple of mixes to get that all together. It's very chaotic, I'm sorry. But yeah, so it looks like everything's mixed together. It tastes super, super good. So now we're at the grand finale-ish. We're gonna be putting this on to a piece of parchment paper. So I just get a little cookie sheet and line it with parchment paper, as you can see here. And you actually don't even need to grease the parchment paper. You can just put it on as is. But so now that I've made sure it's all mixed together, what you can do, see that beautiful mix, you just lay it onto the parchment paper, just like that. Scrape out the bowl, get it all out there. Awesome. So now all that's left to do is really flatten it out. Make sure that everything is patted out nice and neat. The best part about making granola, I think, is that you really can't undercook it. Like, I'm just chipping away eating so much of this right now. But you really can't undercook it, which is the nice part. You could definitely overcook it. It'll be a little extra toasty, but that's okay because it's unlikely that that'll happen. But you want to make sure you spread it really, really thin, right? So, you know, the thinner you have it, the crispier and the crunchier and the clusterier it's gonna be. So I kind of use my hands to press it out too. Of course, make sure you wash your hands. All right, so I had to do a lot of smushing off camera because it's taking a while, but it's okay if, you know, it's like really sticky and it kind of comes up on your hands. Just try and get it really as thin as possible. Regardless, it's gonna be edible. And I've actually tried this recipe a couple times where I do flip it halfway through the baking process, but not doing that really allows it to be more crunchy and crispy and has more clusters. So definitely make sure you just have it as thin as possible so that you don't have to flip it later. Now here's just some more angles of the granola. As you can see, it's like pretty thin. But yeah, now we are gonna take it over to the oven and let this baby bake for a little bit. It should take about 20 minutes. Ooh, hot air, okay. But yeah, just put that in there. I would check it at about, I would check it at about 17 minutes. Okay, so 20 minutes later, our granola is out of the oven and you can see it's really toasted on the edges around here. Get a little closer here. It's really, really toasty. Everything is still kind of binding together, so we don't want to touch it. Don't flip or anything like that, but you can definitely see the edge pieces. Hot, okay. They are a little bit clustery here, but the more that it chills out, the more clustery it's gonna be. And so in the meantime, I've actually created 2 different recipes, one with a chocolate drizzle and one without. And so just to kind of get the best of both worlds here. We're gonna make one half of it with the chocolate drizzle and then one half without. For the chocolate, I used Toll House dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate. I feel like it adds a really good element and that different dimension of flavors to the granola. I also kind of chopped some on the side so that I could add it in later to the smaller clusters, but just a little bit, not too much. And then some coconut oil. We have this like industrial size of coconut oil because me and my sister love to bake. So yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit of that, like very little bit, because we don't want it to be too watery, so probably about that much, and add it into the bowl. And then just microwave this for about 15 seconds. Take it out of the microwave, stir it a little bit, add it for another 10 seconds, and then it should have this melty, nice texture. So now that you have your chocolate mixture, which is super nice and melty, ooh, look at that. You have your granola here, and again, this part is totally optional. If you want to keep it chocolate free, don't even need to do this part, but it is really nice and yummy when it freezes. So I just kind of drizzle all in the area, wherever you want it. It's nice to put it in the really small clustered part just because it binds everything together. This is why I actually first started doing the chocolate, is to kind of help all the clusters bind together. But then I realized that, with the help of my sister, I realized that if I don't flip it, then it also binds really well together. So as you can see, I didn't use all the chocolate. Feel free to use as much or as little as you want. And then once you have this finished product, okay, it's really hot. But once you have this finished product, feel free to put that into the freezer and let it chill until, you know, you can really see the clusters. As you can see here, it's like pretty clustered already, but just let it chill until you can really break apart a cluster. That might be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, kind of depending on your freezer temperature and just how thick the granola is. So we'll come back and check on this in 20 minutes. So it's about 5 hours later now. The granola is definitely chilled and clustered together. It's all one big piece. I actually checked after like 30 minutes and it was definitely chilled and cooled by then. The chocolate was frozen and definitely like onto the granola. So let's take a look at it. So this is what it looks like up close. You can see the chocolate's really melted over. It looks amazing and it's all really cohesive. I actually picked at it a little bit throughout the day. So let's now take it into clusters. All right, so now we have the granola and we can actually break it into clusters. So you guys see it's like, ooh, look at that. Look at that break, amazing. So we just wanna kind of break it up as much as we can. You'll see it like naturally, ooh, look. You see how thin that is? That's because we like basically press it down so thin that it just, if you can really hear, you hear that crunch, those oats. There's a really nutty, a good nutty smell that comes from the oven when it's baking, and it's just all this nuttiness from the oats really toasting together. So now in addition to this, we can actually add the chocolate chips. This will really incorporate well into the more like crumbly pieces, and it'll give a good added chocolate texture and flavor to it, which is really awesome. And I definitely recommend that you store this in a container and then you keep it in the freezer. This granola, I don't know what it is, but it is perfect when it's frozen. It's definitely edible. It adds like an extra crunch to it. So you can either keep it outside, but I do recommend keeping it in the freezer. It's great. Honestly, eat it with a spoon. That's my secret. I always tell everyone who tries it, eat up the little clusters, like these little clusters right here with a spoon. And it is like cereal. Honestly, it's amazing. I recommend this 100%. So yeah, try out your granola recipes. Let me know in the comments how it went. All right, so let's give it a little taste test and try this piece. This looks like the perfect piece. The clustering is perfect. All right, well, I hope you had a lot of fun making this recipe. Sorry, I shouldn't talk to my mouth full. But I hope you enjoyed making this recipe. I hope you share it with your family and your friends. And yeah, if you take pictures, tag me on Instagram at Saucin with Sharon. Leave comments below on recipes that you want to see, any suggestions you have for this recipe, any tweaks that you made, comments, concerns, anything like that. I'm super excited to see what you guys make of this. And as always, stay hungry.